In this section, we are going to talk about an important concept of coordinate geometry, also known as Cartesian system. We'll first start with our understanding of how coordinate geometry evolved over a period of time. Then we'll talk about what is Cartesian system. Then we'll take some examples. And at the end, we'll recap our understanding of coordinate geometry. So let's start with origin of coordinate geometry. The idea to represent a point on a plane has raised an important concept in mathematics called coordinate geometry. This study was initially developed by French philosopher and mathematician René Descartes, and you can see nice picture of him. Now, in honor of Descartes, the system used for describing the position of a point in a plane is also known as Cartesian system. So Cartesian system was a name given to coordinate geometry to honor Descartes. Now, what is Cartesian system? Descartes invented the idea of placing two such lines perpendicular to each other on a plane. So what he invented, basically take two lines perpendicular to each other and place them on a plane, and locate points on the plane by referencing them to these two perpendicular lines. Now these two perpendicular lines can be put in any way on the plane. One way is to put them horizontal and vertical perpendicular line, but it is not only limited to horizontal and vertical. You can also represent like this or like this. They are all perpendicular lines, two perpendicular lines intersecting each other on a plane. But we generally use first option, where one line will be horizontal and the other line will be vertical. The horizontal line is generally called as x-axis, and you can represent this like what you see in the picture here. The vertical line is called y-axis, and they can be represented the way you are seeing in the picture. You can combine horizontal line and vertical line together where they intersect each other perpendicularly and hence making a 90-degree between them. And if so, then you can divide a plane into positive x-axis, negative x-axis, positive y-axis, and negative y-axis. You can also divide them into quadrant 1 or quadrant 2 or quadrant 3 or quadrant 4. So a plane can be divided by two perpendicular lines, in this example x-axis and y-axis, which then in turn divide a plane into four sections, and you can represent that section as quadrant 1, 2, 3, and 4. You can also notice that the place where these two lines intersect each other are known as origin. Now let's take an example. See figure and complete the following statement. The abscissa and ordinate of the point B and the coordinate of B. So what is abscissa and ordinate of point B, and then define the coordinate of point B. So basically it is same. I have a plane, I have a point. Now can you represent this point now since you understood Cartesian system? right? I have an x-axis, I have an y-axis, they are intersecting each other. I have an origin where they are intersecting, and that is 0. This is positive x-axis, this is negative x-axis, this is positive y-axis, this is negative y-axis. Now, since I know all of this, now try to identify how will you represent B. You can see abscissa for point B is 4, because in order for me to go to B, I have to go 4 points this side, and then I have to go 3 points up, which is my ordinate, and hence B can be represented as 4, 3. Similarly, let's try to find x coordinate and y coordinate of point M, and hence coordinate of point M. Your point M is here. In order for you to find x coordinate, you have to go 3 points towards the negative x-axis, and hence this distance can be represented as -3. And you have to go 4 points up on the positive side of y-axis, and hence this distance is 4. And now you can represent M as -3, 4. Similarly, you can find x coordinate and y coordinate of point L and the ordinate of L, where you have to go -5 points on the negative x-axis, and you have to come down on the negative y-axis 4 points to really come to point L, and hence it can be represented as -5, -4. Similarly, if you have to find x coordinate and y coordinate of point S, and hence coordinate of S, you have to go 3 points on the positive side of x-axis and 4 points on the negative side of y-axis, and hence coordinate of S will be 3, -4. Also notice that when you are trying to identify coordinate, if a point is in the first quadrant, then the point will always be of the form plus and plus. If the point is in second quadrant, then the point is always in the form of minus and plus. If it is in the third quadrant, then it is of the form of minus and minus. And if it is in the fourth quadrant, then it is of the form of plus and minus. Let's recap our understanding so far. To locate the position of an object or a point in plane, we require two perpendicular lines. One of them is horizontal and other is vertical. We usually use horizontal and vertical line to represent. The plane is called the Cartesian or coordinate plane, and the lines are called coordinate axis. The horizontal line is called x-axis and the vertical line is called y-axis. The coordinate axis divides the plane into 4 parts called quadrants. The points of intersection of the axis is called origin and is usually represented by 0, 0. The distance of a point from y-axis is called x-coordinate or abscissa, and the distance of point from x-axis is called y-coordinate or ordinate. If the abscissa of a point x is x and the ordinate is y, then xy are called coordinate of the point. If the coordinates of a point on x-axis are of the form x0 and that the point is on the y-axis are 0, y. So what it is saying, if the coordinate of a point on x-axis, if you just try to pick a point on x-axis itself, the y component is always going to be 0 for it. So it is always going to be represented as x comma 0. And same, if you look for a point on y-axis, they are always going to have x component 0, and hence it will be 0 comma y. The coordinate of a point are of the form plus plus for the first quadrant, minus plus in the second quadrant, minus minus in the third quadrant, and plus minus in the fourth quadrant, where plus denotes a positive real number and minus denotes negative real number. We have seen that. If x is not equal to y, then xy is not equal to yx, and xy equal to yx if x equal to y. Thanks for watching. You can visit us on www.classisfun.com.